Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey everybody, it's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube channel, and I'm just checking in on this Tuesday. It is the 6th of June, and the month is moving right along, and so are we. Looks like I got a lot of blue hue here. All right, I think that's decent. But listen, just in case you're wondering what this channel is about inspiration, motivation, and challenging ourselves to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. It's about making sure that we are sharing inspiration and motivation, and we are doing all that we can to make sure that with each day I show up better. For example, I want to make sure that, excuse me, wow, that was a suppressed hiccup that just wouldn't come out. So I'm glad it didn't. But we want to make sure that we are intentional about having shown up better today than we did yesterday. And we want to then make sure that we are striving to show up better tomorrow than we did today. That's what this channel is about. It's about positivity. It's about being upbeat and optimistic whenever we can. Of course, we know that's not necessarily a realistic place to be all the time because life happens. I told someone today that life is, well, it's just life, and life does happen. But in spite of all of that, we are here and we are intentional about spending these 1800 seconds together to do whatever we can to engage each other and challenge each other, that no matter what life brings, no matter what hand we are dealt, we do our very best to play the hand that we've been dealt, and try to make sure that even if we don't win every hand, that we don't lose every hand. And that's the name of the game. That's the goal. That's what we're striving to do here. And I think the last time we were together, I wanted to come back and talk about uh, how to celebrate yourself. I wanted to engage in something that we've done here typically, something that's called word guard, because I'm a firm believer in the power of the tongue. I believe that what we say matters. I believe that there really is strength and power in what we say. I believe that what we say can be life-giving, or it can be damning. And the power of life and death really is in the tongue. And that does not necessarily mean a physical death, but how many of you know that you can kill your dreams, you can kill your hopes, you can kill your ambitions, you can do all of that? And that's not what we want to do here. So one of the things that I encourage us to do is to use our words carefully, use our words deliberately, use our words powerfully, and use our words to the extent that we can to speak life over ourselves and over those people who are in our circle. So that's something that we always want to do. I realize I'm just going on and on and on talking, but I feel very convicted about that today. I have a compassion for, I'm passionate about making sure that we use our words carefully as they pertain to our lives. So I want to come back this evening and just share something, not necessarily going into the word guard game that we typically play, or that activity that we sometimes engage in, but I want to talk about something that's a little different today, you all, and I'll give you the impetus of why I'm doing that in a few moments. I'll just go back and shout out the LTTC VIPs, the people over in the chat. So if you're just, as you're logging in, come on over, whatever you do, come on over to the chat room and let me see you, let me hear from you. But I do want to encourage people to make sure that they subscribe to my channel. And after they subscribe, just click on the notification button so you know whenever I have gone live, such as I have to this evening, every Tuesday and every Thursday for about some 1800 seconds, so that you know when I've gone live, so we can spend these moments together. Meanwhile, listen, let me tell you some of the things that are going on with me. It occurred to me today that we sometimes give people the idea that they can go on and 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 never tire. And I started wondering, just for a moment, I wonder if I give the expectation that we don't get tired in life, because if that is the perception that I've shared, then I want to be very careful and make sure that I sort of retract that. I'm not suggesting that we don't get tired in life, not at all. But one of the things that I am going to do while I'm here, these 1800 seconds, is to offer us something that will help us to get through those challenges, something that will, to offer us something that will help us deal with those low moments and those sorts of things. So I want to make sure that as life is happening, we are, here we go, we are equipped to handle whatever comes our way. And I will tell you all this. Earlier today, I was just saying to myself, wow, I'm tired. I, I'm tired. But what I realized was that even though I'm tired, there's some things that I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up on hope. I'm not giving up on success. I'm not giving up on peace. I'm not giving up on promises. I'm not giving up on any of that. But with that said, you all, how many of you all know we do get tired? And it may be a platform like this where we come together and we think, okay, that guy is always trying to motivate us. That guy is always suggesting that we keep going on and on and on and on and on and on. That guy is suggesting that we never get tired. So I want to stop there. That's not one of the things that I'm suggesting. I am not suggesting that we get tired, because guess what? We all get tired, even me. There's some things that are going on. And I'll tell you all this, and this is not for any sympathy points, but the last time we spoke, I told you all about my very good friend, Devin, who lost her mother, and she was in the throes of preparing a memorial and funeral service for that. Well, just since that time, you all, I lost my uncle. I lost another uncle, my dad's oldest brother. And so while I'm emotionally trying to support my good friend who's lost her mother, I'm trying to be there for my family we've lost another family member. And while that's going on, I have other things that are happening on my job. I have things that are happening in my personal life. As you all know, as you all know, I've had an ankle reconstruction for the second time, and I can't walk. So I have all of that going on, trying to help a friend who's lost her mom, trying to help my family, support my family. We've lost another icon. I have some things or some challenges that are going on my job. I have some physical health challenges, things that are taking place. So of course I'm tired. And then I'm doing some things in a social circle, but I'm tired. But guess what? I'm not quitting. So I want to talk about the difference between stopping and quitting. I don't want you, thank you so much. I don't want you to think that you can't stop and take a break. I want to say this: if you're tired, just take a break. If you're exhausted, just take a moment, you all. If you are exhausted, just take a moment. But that does not mean that you have given up. It does not mean that you have quit. And don't take on the weight of the world, and don't take on everybody's perceptions and what they have to say about you and what it looks like. If you are tired, take a break. If you are exhausted, take a rest. So sometimes you have to take a break. You have to take a rest. You have to go on vacation, because it's good for your physical health. It's good for your spiritual health, and it's good for your mental and emotional health. We have to learn how to take a break. Let me shout out the LTTC VIPs before I just keep going, because this thing really got to me today, and I thought, let me just go back on and talk to my friends and family and just see what's going on. Have I misled them to think that we're always going on and on and on and on and on and on like that Energizer Bunny? That is not what I expect out of anybody. That's not what I expect out of myself. But what I do expect out of myself is to know that when I've taken a break, that does not mean that I've quit. And I want you all to be very clear about that as well. Just because you take a break, it does not mean that you have quit. And do not, whatever you do not become, what is the word I'm looking for? Uh, uh, do not become bound by the opinions of other people who will look at you, and the opinions of people who will look at you and say, well, why are you stopping? Why are you giving up? You just need to tell them sometimes, just shut your mouth. I'm not giving up. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm renewing. I'm revitalizing. I'm revamping so I can come back. That's all. But take the breaks that you need, you all. Please take the breaks that you need, and don't worry about people's opinions of why you do what you do. Don't be held hostage. That's the word I'm looking for. Don't be held hostage by other people's opinion. Take a break whenever you need to do so. Learn how to stop without quitting. It absolutely does not mean that you have quit. We have people who are dealing with high blood pressure, people who are on the verge of stroke, people who are doing so many things because, and I mean, illnesses are manifesting in their bodies. Illness are manifesting in their bodies because they don't know how to take a break. I like that word. Young people are using that word, and a lot of people are using that word nowadays. McDonald, yes, learn how to pivot, learn how to stop, back up, and say, "Oh, okay, let me go another way." Let me learn how to refresh and renew and revitalize. Let me learn how to revamp this thing. Let me learn how to recalibrate. I have to refresh and renew here. And so we have to learn how to, and this really is a part of what is called stress management. And it's taking the time out to just nourish your mental health and your emotional health and your total well-being. Let's learn how to do that. It is so very important that sometimes we need to learn how to stop. It doesn't mean that we're quitting. How do we know when we need to take a break? How do we know when we're at that point? Your body will let you know. Your whole well-being, your whole being will let you know. One of the times that you know it, you all, is when you feel mentally exhausted. And I sometimes say to people, do you understand what that means? Do you understand what that looks like? What does it mean to be mentally exhausted? When you're constantly feeling stressed out, when you're constantly feeling physically tired, when you're constantly feeling irritable, that means that you are perhaps mentally exhausted. And you need to just take a break. You need to just stop. It doesn't mean that you've quit. I'm trying to give us signs because we've reached, or we're approaching the halfway point of the year, and we've been in drive, we've been in go mode the whole time. And I may have encouraged you to keep going and not even take a break. And so I want to apologize for that, because it's not my intention to say that you got to keep going like a train, like the little engine that could, without taking a break. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm suggesting is that in life, every now and then, you've got to take a break. You've got to stop. It does not mean that you've quit. Again, I am balancing. I know several members of my family, some of my friends and my close circles, they are balancing so many things, with the death of my friend's mother, with the death of my uncle, with things that I'm doing, with my physical health. Again, with all of these things, we have to learn to take a break. Good point. Someone in the chat tonight said that is why most jobs have paid vacation and leave, so that we can take a break. Listen, y'all, when you're feeling mentally exhausted, again, we're approaching the middle of the year, and some of us are mentally exhausted, and we're overlooking the fact that we're mentally exhausted, and we're not paying attention to the fact that we're constantly stressed out, constantly physically tired, constantly irritable, and we're not paying attention to that. Can I tell you that just caring for a household can be stressful? Those of you who are caregivers or have been caregivers, it can be stressful. Taking care of sick loved ones can be stressful. Just trying to do what you do can be stressful. And that is when you are, a lot of times, you are mentally exhausted. And then you start exhibiting things like anger or moodiness or being irritable, burnout. All of those sorts of things are indicators that you are physically exhausted. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I've lived long enough to know what it feels like to go through mental exhaustion. And I'm just trying to make us aware. I want us to be aware that as we're here talking about inspiration and motivation and how to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations, you cannot show up your best self in the worst of situations when you are mentally exhausted. Cannot do it. So I'm challenging us to take an honest look at where we are, how we feel, how we be, how we show up. I challenge us all to take a look at ourselves and see how we're doing what we do. Are you mentally exhausted? If so, you need to stop. Doesn't mean that you're quitting. Another indicator, are you constantly on edge? In the midst of doing what you're doing, are you constantly on edge? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel like you can't sit down? Can I tell you, I have relatives and friends who sometimes just cannot sit down. That's what it means to be on edge. And I'm trying to give us physical indicators so that we're just not talking theoretically, but that we really see what's going on. Look at the people in your lives. Look at yourself. Do you have moments where you just can't sit down? Perhaps you're on edge. And then things start showing up like fear, you're panicking, you're irritable, your heartbeat is racing all the time. You feel like you're in this fight or flight mode. I can't sit down. I got to fight, I got to survive. And you feel like you're in that mode all the time. That means that you're on edge. You're antsy. That's what we used to say in the South. Some of my Southern folk will say, you're antsy, you're agitated. That means you're on edge, and being on edge is not a good thing. When you're on edge, can I say it to you again that you need to stop? It doesn't mean that you've quit. You need to stop. You need to step back. You need to take a break. You need to pivot. You need to recalibrate. I'm trying to share what's good for us, you all. I'm trying, for real, I'm trying to do my little part, whatever I can do, no matter how minimal it may be. I'm trying to do my little part to help save somebody's life and to keep us from strokes and to keep us from heart attacks and keep us from high blood pressure and to keep us from illnesses manifesting in our bodies, because we carry stress and we carry anxiety and we carry all of that. And nobody said, hey, what's going on with you? Have you stepped back and look and take a look at yourself? Sometimes we're just easily triggered. I'm talking about the reasons why we need to, I'm talking about the reasons why we need to stop sometimes. The reasons why we need to take a break sometimes. I've said it before. Sometimes we're mentally exhausted. Sometimes we're on edge. And then sometimes we just feel easily triggered by everything. Have you ever been in a situation where you're triggered by everything? Or you know people who are just triggered by everything? Just about everything sets people off, or just about everything will set you off. Anything and everything causes this kind of negative emotional reaction. And I know people who are like that, and they won't admit that it is a negative reaction. But I mean, the TV is too loud, and they just go off. You ask them something that interrupts their routine just for a moment, and they just go off. They're edgy about everything. All sorts of triggers and all sorts of stresses. It doesn't matter anything. It could be a thought, it could be a feeling, it could be a person, it could be a place, just anything that triggers negative emotions. Because what happens when you're triggered, you find that you're unable to think clearly. You can't make sound decisions. You're right. Paula D, you're right, my friend. Even when the GPS has exhausted all of its options, it does what? It recalculates and recalibrates. Y'all, let's do the same thing. I'm just trying to caution us. I wish I could just really sit in your personal space with you this evening and just say, hey, I'm just really trying to caution us to be careful and to know when to stop. It doesn't mean that you've taken a break. And if people just look at it, just to know when to stop and to take a break, it doesn't mean that you've quit. And for people who are trying to hold you hostage to their impressions of what you're doing, say, well, why are you quitting? I'm not quitting. I'm loving myself enough to stop and to take a break, to recalculate, to renew, to revamp, to revise, to pivot when it's necessary. And I'm offering us this evening the ability to look at where we are emotionally, the ability to look at where we are mentally, the ability to look at where we are and say, let me see what's going on with myself. Am I triggered? Am I on edge? Am I antsy? Am I mentally exhausted? What is going on? Perhaps I'm the person that Cutler was talking about, or perhaps I know people in my life who fall in that category. Do I find myself not having motivation? Am I lacking motivation in my life? What's going on with me? Do I feel like I'm down in the dumps all the time? Am I less motivated? Am I not motivated to do anything? Am I feeling resentful about stuff? Do you know that you can live your life carrying being resentful about things? I don't want to get in trouble for this, but there are some people who are resentful about so many things. Just resentful. And just wishing they didn't have to do what they do. Now, they may muster up the energy. Some of us, I don't know about you. Let me just talk about me for a moment. I know I have mustered up the energy to do some things that I wish I didn't have to do, but I did it. to go some places that I didn't want to go, but I did it. To show up sometimes when I didn't want to show up, but I've done it, you all. And just because listen, just because you muster up the energy to do some things, that does not mean that you lack motivation. Sometimes that does not mean that you don't lack motivation. Sometimes I have not been motivated, but just for the sake of doing it, just for the GP of it all, I've done it. I've done it down in the dumps. I've done it when I was not 100% myself, and I'm not not my 100% self, and I'm not suggesting that we don't do that, but I want us to be aware of how we feel when we're doing it. I want us to be fully aware of who we are and how we show up when we're doing it. That's all. A lot of times we lack motivations. Again, we're down in the dumps. You find yourself angry. You find yourself resentful of the fact that you have to do what you do. Sometimes you're resentful of the fact that you've got to go to work. Sometimes you're resentful of the fact that you have to take care of people that you feel like you shouldn't have to take care of, or you feel resentful of having to do some of the things that you do. You feel resentful about your daily chores, whether it's at home or work. You just feel resentful about a whole lot of stuff. And what does that mean? That pulls you down in the dumps, and you're chronically fatigued. You're low on energy. Chances are you need to be rejuvenated. You need to be revived, renewed. You need to stop. Doesn't mean that you're quitting. It does not mean that you're quitting. It does not mean that you're giving up. It just means that you are smart enough and you've made the intelligent decision to be good to yourself, to take a break because it's necessary. It does not mean that you're quitting. It means that you're stopping for a moment. If you ever found yourself constantly pulling away from people, that's another sign that you might just need to take a break. Sometimes we do that. We find ourselves pulling away from people, and people pull away from their social lives. They pull away from their circles. They pull away from their communities. They pull away from their tribes. They pull away from people whenever they're feeling overburdened or unable to cope with everyday stressors. There's some people who just pull away because they don't necessarily know how to do anything else. They don't know how to confront the person. They don't know how to confront the situation. They don't know how to stand up and say what they need to say. But I'm telling you all, people who, when you find yourself pulling away, it means that you just might need to take a break. Just take a break. If you find yourself feeling withdrawn, it might be because you have a whole lot on your plate. I want you to examine tonight what's on your plate. Examine what's on your plate. What is it that you have to do? Because some of us are not just carrying plates, but some of us are carrying trays. And I want you to look at what's on your plate. What is on your tray? What are you dealing with? What are you carrying? Can you take a few things off and put them aside for just a moment and then come back and pick them up later? That's taking a break. Can you compartmentalize? Can you compartmentalize and say, yes, I can carry this, but not now? Or I can carry that, but not for so long. Can you compartmentalize? I offer us the power, the sincere power to take a look at what is on our plate. What are you carrying? Because maybe it's necessary for you to carry it, but maybe it's not necessary for you to carry it now. Maybe it's necessary for you to carry it, but maybe it's not necessary for you to carry it so long. So what do we do a lot of times? We find ourselves pulling away because I'm overburdened, pulling away because I'm stressed out, pulling away because I've got too much on my plate. I'm feeling too down to do this. I'm feeling too stressed out to do this. I'm feeling too depressed to do this. I'm feeling some kind of way, as the young folks say, some kind of way, so I don't want to interact with people. I just want you to recognize it and learn how to take a break, because it's okay. It is okay to enjoy those alone times. I want to be very clear about that. But when you start spending excessive time away from your village, excessive time away from your community, excessive time away from your circle, and you start becoming isolated from family and isolated from friends, what does that lead to? It leads to anxiety. It leads to loneliness. It leads to depression. I want us to be so very careful because, see, I'm going to use my Southern expression here. See, ain't nobody telling us that. People saying you got to be real, you got to be transparent, you got to pull away, you got to turn away when you need to. Yeah, and I'm a proponent of that. But I want us to be very careful and making sure that we draw the balance, that we get the balance between the two. It's one thing to take some alone time, but it's another thing to become isolated and lonely. Let's be careful. So the color, what do you suggest? What do we do? Because again, let me just say this. I just want to say, because perhaps somebody is going to catch the replay and somebody's wondering, what is the impetus of this conversation? Why is he sharing that? I'm sharing that because you all, those of you who know me, who have been with me for a while, understand that I really talk from a place of transparency. I'm talking about where I am now, dealing with 2 deaths, trying to help with both programs, dealing with physical ailments, ailments, and can't even stand on 2 feet. Dealing with transitions on my job, major transitions, dealing with things in my personal space, dealing with things in some of my social spaces. I started thinking about that thing today and said, "Ooh, okay, hold on. I started thinking about that, and I wanted to say, oh, listen, you carrying so much and you can barely walk. Get yourself together." I really did. Because my body's out of whack, because I can't stand properly on 2 feet. So my body's sort of aligned, my back is hurting, and all that kind of stuff is going on. And I realized I'm trying to carry all of that stuff. And when I thought about it, I said, I wonder if my friends are doing the same thing. And by my friends and family, I'm talking about you all. I said, I wonder how many of them are trying to carry so much stuff, some stuff that they may not need to carry now, and they feel like they have to carry it because somebody has made them feel like they have to carry it. They feel like they have to show up because somebody has made them feel like they have to show up. They feel like they have to do this because somebody has caused them to feel like they have to do it. But no one has caused you to feel like you need to stop and take a break, recalibrate, rejuvenate, and revamp and pivot if necessary. Nobody's told you you need to do that. They want to see you stressed out because it makes them look good, because you're a part of what they do. I'm telling y'all, stop. We're almost halfway in this year. Stop. Take a break. I know we get that initial inertia to just keep on going. We feel like we're on this trajectory that's going to take us from January to December, but not without stopping, not without breathing, not without exhaling, not without inhaling, not without taking a vacation, not without considering the status of our mental health. Yes, all of that. Let's love you. You all know I'm a big proponent. Yeah, let's love ourselves, be good to ourselves, and being good to ourselves. Let me take a break. I try not to have house guests every weekend, even though I love house guests. Yeah. It is a matter of not becoming overwhelmed. And there's certain ways that we can do this, you all. There's certain ways that we can take a break. I just want to say this as we're closing out the conversation. Love yourself enough to take a break. It doesn't mean that you're quitting. It means that you're just stopping for a moment. Think about it. When you're on the highway driving and you come to a red light or you come to a stop sign, you stop. It doesn't mean that you've decided to abandon your journey. You haven't abandoned the trip. You're just stopping at that moment because it's necessary. And it's necessary for physical safety. But when you're stopping along the highway of life, it's because it's necessary not only for physical safety, but it's necessary for mental safety. It's necessary for psychological safety. It's necessary for emotional safety. It's necessary for your spiritual safety. It's necessary for the safety of your well-being. You're not abandoning the trip. You just have a pencil and start writing, a paintbrush and start painting. Curl up on the sofa, binge watch something on TV if you have to. Do some meditation, read a book, exercise, stress, do what you need to do. Disconnect from social media if you have to. Sit in silence and collect your thoughts. Walk outside, get a breath of fresh air, take a nature walk. Take your basket, go sit. I know that's old school, but take your basket or your brown bag and go sit out in the park and do what you need to do. I'm telling you all, bottom line is this: take breaks, engage in pleasurable activities that will make you feel good, that will make you feel renewed, that will make you feel refreshed. Why would I say that? Because it empowers you to be able to cope with the challenges that life will present. It gives you the opportunity to be renewed so that you can enjoy an overall better quality of life. Some people rather see you stressed out or have you stressed out and not talk about it. But I'm telling you, we can look good on the outside. We can look wonderful on the outside. But how many of us are that close to a stroke? How many of us are that close to a heart attack? How many of us are that close to an emotional breakdown? How many of us that close to just feel like we're going to lose it? How many of us are that close to insanity? How many of us are that close to depression? How many of us are that close to something that is negative? Thank you, Marissa, my friend. I think you said it best, and I can quote you and call it a day. Take the time to regroup and relax. I'm sharing this, you all, because I realize this is where I am, and I'm thinking, I wonder if some of my friends are there too. And be thankful that you have somebody, that we all have somebody who can remind us, I see where you are. And as the young folks say, you're doing too much. Take a break. Please take a break. Be good to yourself. Take a break. Let's keep doing what we do, you all. I want us to be our best selves. And being our best selves means that we have to take a break when it is necessary. Let's keep doing what we do. Let's keep building community and maintaining this kind of connectivity so that we can be empowered by what we say and how we share this moment with each other. Keep your heads up, keep your hopes up, stay safe, stay sane, and know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Listen, until the next time we see each other, please invite somebody to come on and let's talk to Cutler, because we're talking about real things, real life, real people, real situations. Listen, stop, but don't quit. I'll see you all the next time I see you.